there's no prejudice against fat people. There is?
There's a lot of prejudice against fat people in this society.
And the reason you're not trying to lose weight is what?
Because I've accepted myself as a large-sized person, and all the energy that I put into dieting before, I'm now putting into all the other things I really want to do.
You want to enjoy life.
Yes.
And whatever prejudice you may sustain, and we've heard about it, and I believe it's there. I truly do. I think it's real. It isn't everybody. We'd probably be surprised at people out there that don't let unimportant things like this get in the way of relationships, etc. That's so?
I think probably most people in this country do act in a prejudiced way.
You do. So in other words, most people will respond then, however subtly, in a negative way to, how shall we say this, to your being oversized.
Most of the time, yes.
Isn't that motive enough to get on, lose it?
Well, 95% of all people who go on diets end up regaining the weight plus more. I personally have lost and gained 100 pounds 3 times in my life.
Really?
And I felt terrible about myself.
How'd you feel when you were 100 lighter?
Deprived, hungry.
But what size? Can I ask you? What was your smallest size?
Size 18.
What's your feeling? Strutting. You know what I mean? Huh? What's the matter?
Size 18 in this country is a problem.
In other words, there's a prejudice against 18.
Sure, 14.
Yeah, there is.
Some people who are size 12 have a problem with that.
What?
I look in the mirror now and I see a size 13 because I'm a cute kid whether I'm heavy or I'm thin.
And what's not to love about you?
That's the truth.
Give me a chance. Hang on. Tracy Jeffries is a plus-size model, whatever that means. Apparently this is a Vogue term. It is. Vogue magazine, isn't that right? Have plus. Something about plus. You went from 180 to your current 145. Well,
Yes.
Art, Savelle, you are now a 10.
Thank you.
What would you say to these bright, insightful, creative young women who don't want life to pass them by while they're eating birdseed? They just don't want to do that.
Well, for me, it was a matter of work. In this country, as a 16, 18, which I was, I didn't get the work that I can get as a 10, 12, still doing plus-size modeling. It's unfortunate, but that's the way it is. It's a matter of economics for me.
Denise Barrows, after you weighed 200, Denise, I'm telling your mother.
She knows.
She knows, huh? Was she on your case?
Yeah. She always encouraged me to lose weight, and I was a large-size model. She said, well, that's good, baby, but you should lose the weight. She always wanted me to lose the weight. My mother's small.
She said it like that, baby. She loved you, and it wasn't about me.
No, she didn't nag me, no.
You lost 48 pounds, and you're now at 12.
Yes.
Look at the smile on your face. Denise, you've heard this before. We cannot discount the testimony of these very obvious, thoughtful people. They've seen this movie about yo-yo and up and down and so on. Have you ever been tempted to say, get in that school where this is who I am, love me or leave me, I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to lose weight.
When I was a size 18, I was on an international tour, touring all over the country, saying, I'm big and I'm beautiful. I moved back to New York, and just like Tracy, I did not work as a large-size model. I think if she feels good about herself and she's happy with her life the way it is, good. I wasn't. I was not working as a model. I want to be a model. I want to be an actress.
Yeah. How much misery are you in maintaining this? And I don't want to presume you are, but that's the reason. The reason they don't have your body is because they don't want to bear up with the misery of going down and up and up.
I don't see it as miserable anymore. Because, see, the weight is not as important to me, and eating is not as important to me as my work. I want to be an actress and a model, and that's the most important thing. So a lot of times when you have that drive, I mean, look at Cher doing all these Jack LaLanne commercials. She probably wants to eat too, but she wants to be Cher first.
The hardest
So,
part is getting
you gotta
started.
work, you gotta get it off. And I got it off, but I want to keep it off.
I'd like to say something, because something was just said that I think we should correct right away.
Let me tell them you're Nancy Roberts. You host a radio talk show on New York's WYNY. Good for you. You ended your lifelong battle. Listen to this. Wait a minute. We don't have all the info on Nancy yet. You ended your lifelong battle with weight 8 years ago when you decided to accept yourself as you are.
Absolutely, and what I wanted to say is that we mustn't say to this woman in the front row that she's not thin the way Denise is because she chooses not to suffer and go up and down. Recent research into obesity has proven that very large people, such as myself, such as this lady, can indeed eat tiny amounts of food, as low as 800 calories a day, and not lose an ounce. We have to take the blame away from the obese and stop assuming that we're greedy. It's
Who's
not
saying no
true.
way? Where are we getting this dissent here?
Yeah, who dares disagree?
You can't eat that small amount of food and not lose any weight.
Well, look to the New York Times, to Jane Brody, who is the foremost health expert in this country and who wrote this piece in March with all of the new research. And you can. Obesity experts are tearing their hair out. They don't know what to do.
Excuse me, but we really have a matter of physics here.
Yeah.
Jane Brody, I didn't read the piece.
Yes.
But common sense tells us. How many calories
800.
a day?
The more you diet, the more you lower your metabolic rate, so that eventually, if after 30 years of dieting, which is what I went through, you begin to eat normally, healthfully, a well-balanced diet, you just do not lose weight. Your metabolic rate has been lowered. Dieting makes you fat.
It does.
We talked about, hang on a minute, Darby. We talked about Vogue magazine. I hope I didn't insult anybody. I read Vogue cover to cover every day. You are editorial director of Fashion Plus. I was almost right. It is a special large-size fashion section of Vogue. So obviously,
Yes, Fashion Plus is a special section on large sizes.
Vogue was not born yesterday. Pardon me. There's a tremendous market out there of this kind of this size demand, huh?
There's an enormous demand, and what's also nice is that in addition to the change in science that's happening, that's changing what we know about weight and how bodies work, the fashion world is beginning to ease up and producing beautiful fashions in large sizes.
Well,
and that's what I like to show.
I keep thinking of Irma Bombeck says, you know, you buy the one size fits all.
But it never does fit all.
You know, and when you pick it out, it's a little rosebud. When you put it on, it's a flowering bush going up the side of the... Darby Dysart, thank you, Irma, for allowing me to steal, with credit, your material. Darby, you were a size 12, and you continue to model plus sizes, but you have reduced to, it used to be 190.
Yeah,
Hey.
I was.
And now you're a
pregnancy-
16 to 18. Let's say 16. Don't be so honest.
No, I'm a 12 now. I was a 16.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Doesn't say that here.
Thanks.
Oh, yes.
Maybe that's why I'm
Darby-
in the middle.
No. Listen, when it's the staff's fault, I always say so. This one is mine. It says you are now a size 12.
Yeah. And I'm still modeling large size.
Yeah.
Because this is the size
You really
of
like
the
it?
large size industry.
You like yourself.
Oh, I like it a lot, but I liked myself big, too. I've never been low on self-esteem. It's not a problem. Other people didn't like me. My mother didn't like me. People on the street didn't like me. People were offended.
Is that a wedding ring?
It is.
How does he feel?
My husband likes me whatever size I'm at.
Where do we get such men? Yes, ma'am. Yeah. You'll stand, please?
Over the larger sized women,
Yes.
how about the health risks involved?
That's what I want.
I'm glad you asked that. I think that we know now that the health risks of obesity are talked about over and over and over again without talking about the health risks of dieting, which is also very dangerous. And it's very important to realize that many of the illnesses associated with obesity can indeed be cured by a loss of only 10% of your body weight. So if you weigh 250 pounds and you lose 25 pounds, You can get rid of high blood pressure. You can get rid of all kinds of problems. You know, once again, we mustn't forget we have a big dieting industry in this country that
Pushing
makes
all
a
this stuff.
fortune trying
Yeah.
to convince us how unhealthy we are.
Lots of questions here, friends. I'll give you a chance. Yes.
These young ladies that have lost this weight, strictly by dieting, or was exercise also a part of it?
Absolutely. You can't lose weight without exercise. Don't let any diet book tell you that, because you can't do
Fat
it.
diets, forget it. You have to exercise.
I want to run this tape now. Darby and Denise have been with us before. You don't mind, do you?
No, go
Would you
ahead.
kindly stand for... Hang on a minute, Brian. Just want to sort of see. If you'll back up just a little bit, all right? Can we see all of Darby? Thank you so much. As in pulling back. Long chairs, thank you. All right. Is that nice? It's a very attractive young woman. And here's Denise. Now... So I don't look like a total voyeur. Here's the reason we've asked these attractive young women to stand. They were on our show. How long ago was this?
Last March? Or a year ago, March.
A year ago, March it was on. Okay, originally. All right. Here's how they look. Modeling size plus garments.
She has to go make a
There's
quick
Darby.
change.
See the difference?
I know, that's why.
All right.
I want to show you that what I try to do.
Oh, this is how may we ask what you weigh here?
Oh, about 185.
And you have nice wardrobe.
There you are, just about a year and a half
I
ago.
couldn't get any work in print as a large size model. I was doing mostly fit work.
Here's Denise. Look at this. How much did you weigh, Denise?
I weighed 203.
Now, you gotta admire this, huh?
And, okay, I just want to say,
Go ahead.
I think that I don't want to I lost the weight because I want to be a model, right? And I have been where these women are in regards to being discriminated against because of your weight. I think they can be beautiful. I think they should feel good about themselves. I think they should be able to get the jobs they want. But for the people who do want to lose the weight, there's ways to do it. I did it. There's a way. It's a diet plan that works, and there's some out there for some people.
What'd you have for
Now,
breakfast this morning?
I had bran cereal, and I had a half a banana and some skim milk. So did I. I hated skim milk. I hated skim
You did
milk. That's
too?
exactly what I had. It doesn't work for
What's going on here?
No diet works for everybody. No, it doesn't. And what are you going to have for dinner?
Because you always hear about, you've got to starve. I can only get 800 calories to lose weight. You have to learn that you have to eat to lose weight. If you starve yourself repeatedly and yo-yo, it's very, very
I'm going to have
unhealthy.
3 square meals today.
What happens is your body says, oh, I'm being starved, I'm in a famine, I'm going to suck onto every calorie possible.
I sort of agree with the fact that it doesn't matter sometimes what you eat or how much you eat, because when I was in high school, I've always been thin, but I've had a lot of friends that have been overweight. I ate a tremendous amount at lunchtime. People couldn't get over how much I ate. My girlfriends hardly ate anything, and they never, lost any weight.
Because you have the metabolism of a hummingbird. Yes. Yes, ma'am.
Phil, I've been on a diet since I was a sophomore in high school.
Yes.
And sometimes I think we talk food more than love. Is that a problem with anyone?
That's a very good point. We talk food more than love. We talk weight more than achievement. Particularly for those of us who are women, we are evaluated in terms of what we weigh and not in terms of what we do. And I think it's very sad that these 3 absolutely beautiful women who are at the peak of their career as large-size models, the epitome of large-size beauty to the entire world, were still so discriminated against that they had to lose weight. And I think it says something about our society and what we deem important.
I do too.
I think she's absolutely right. It does say something about our society, but this is a society that we all must live in. If we want to get ahead in it, we must learn to play by its rules.
How
So,
true
if you want to be successful, there's a way to do it.
But what about the 95% of people who put the weight back on over and over and over again? That's too many to ignore. How can you spend your whole life yo-yoing, which makes you very physically ill, just to conform? If you think that we have to conform to society, we would still have slavery.
Yes,
the
sir.
women would not have the vote.
Yes.
We've changed society.
Yeah. Hang on a minute.
I just wanted to comment that what you had said about dieting being unhealthy and losing weight, starving yourself. I starve myself. I'm very thin, and I get. I don't know. I do it largely because of pressure, and You know, my fiance
brave of
constantly
you to
says to me
admit.
that I don't look healthy. And, you know...
Take you to McDonald's or what?
No, I don't have an appetite, and it's sort of like,
Well, it's a
what I'm trying to
shame.
say
In
in
this
short
country,
is
there are a lot
that,
of people
what
who are
I'm
very
trying to,
sick.
well, I guess what I'm trying to say in short is that, I wear a size 26 boys pants, and it's very difficult for me to get clothes to fit me. I'm small. And what I found out when I was in my 20s, that I didn't worry about it, but what I'm trying to say is that I've lost tone. When you lose a lot of weight very quickly, you lose tone and you get flabby. Even though you're thin, you're not toned.
You know what she's talking about?
Yeah, well, anorexia, bulimia, these are rampant on college campuses. People eat and binge, and then they throw up. Is that disgusting? Does anybody think that's disgusting?
I also think it's not disgusting, it's an illness.
It's an illness.
But that's what the rules are creating.
That's right.
And that's why we have to go after changing the rules.
I think that the issue of the prejudice against, how shall we say, over whatever we perceive to be proper weight, oversized people is severe, ubiquitous, and very telling and consequential in the marketplace especially. I don't think we promote heavy people.
No. Do you know there's another fascinating statistic? Only 10% of the population falls naturally into the weight range that we consider to be the ideal female shape these days. And everybody else is spending their lives trying to get there.
And I'll tell you what else. Our daughters are larger than their mothers.
Yes.
So why doesn't...
Oh, a lot of dissent.
Connecticut is disagreeing with the host? We'll give you a chance to do it more thoroughly. We've got a break. We'll be back here in Stamford, Connecticut in just a moment. That's Tracy. Was that you before?
That was me.
Is it possible to do let's do, what do you want to do first? Let's do Denise. You want to? That's number 2.
Oh, you gotta show my
Now we have to see. I want to show a split screen so we can see Denise before and after. Is that going to be possible? That's what I was told. It's coming?
My boyfriend hasn't seen me yet.
Possibly on this show today. Now, face the camera, Denise. There you go. Now, don't we have... Wait a minute now. Don't we have another shot of Tracy waist stuff? Do we? I'm sorry, not of Tracy, of Denise. That pop? Can you see the weight loss in her face?
Well, that's a picture. It's contoured. Hey, they made me look small with paint, so I made.
Who was disagreeing with the host here? All right, stand up here. What's your point?
I have 2 daughters that are a lot smaller than I am. They're size 3 and 5, and I think exercise is the trick to it. Because I eat like a horse.
I think exercise is great. I teach dance classes for large women, and I know a lot of other large women who teach exercise and dance classes for large women. We are still large. I see this sea of incredulous faces. It's true. You can exercise, you can eat sensibly, you can still be large. We are genetically different.
Yeah. Oh, I have my daughter right here. And
why don't you stand up, daughter?
Barbara.
Barbara.
This is my daughter, Barbara.
All right, move over there.
She's not as bigger than I. Okay?
She is too bigger than you.
No, she is.
I mean taller. That's what I mean, taller.
Okay, but I have my daughter here, and she's taller than
stand
I am.
up here. Look at this. Here's 3 generations. Stand together there. Now, look at here. She's going to be taller than either of you. She's taller than you.
No, she stopped growing.
Oh, no. How old are you?
25.
Oh.
Phil, look how sensitive she was.
What about
to
their
the word
husbands?
big.
That doesn't make any difference. Husbands don't make any contribution to this.
Husbands
Yeah. Yeah.
This is the 80s. What about, I'd like to ask...
Hang on a minute, please.
I'd like to ask the heavyset woman, what about sex when you're...
It's great. It's fun. It's the same for everyone.
What about sex?
What about sex for Renoir's women in his paintings? What about sex for women in a country where thin is not so much of a compulsion, where people are generally bigger? What about sex in the 18th and 19th century? We all got here. They must have been having sex.
Okay, dating as a large-size model. When I was a size 18 dating, I was on an international tour with 11 gorgeous women. Every night, those women met fabulous men, rich men, gorgeous-looking men. I met one. Okay? The men in this country do not like overweight women, as my Denise Barros' experience.
I don't agree with that at all.
Well,
I think that the men are starting to come out of the closet for the second time and admitting that they like a woman with a little meat on their bones.
I still
Big
got a lot
and
of meat on my
beautiful.
bones. That's cool.
Look at this audience. Look at the audience. The audience shows you how...
Wait a minute.
There's an expert.
Where do we get these audiences? Asking about sex.
How many men in this audience raised your hand like having sex with heavy-set women?
How heavy?
I'm married, though, but you know,
You're married?
any way you can get it sometimes, I don't
I would
know.
like to ask him a question.
A size 12 or a size 24? How heavy?
How heavy?
How heavy when you mean meat on your bones?
I don't think we can blame
I
men.
think Connecticut is going to hell.
Listen,
I
you
mean-
can't blame men. Men are subjected to the same stereotypes, the same ideal images of women on television. They watch the soaps, they see skinny actresses, skinny models. Of course they want a woman, most men, who conforms to that ideal. But a lot of men, if you dig down deep, care about you as a person. And if you're fat or thin or in between, that's what counts, and that's the man you want to look for.
Well, before I got married, my husband used to tell me they used to go on what they call mercy missions and go out looking for bigger women to do them because they weren't so lucky, would never get a chance to
You mean
have.
like as a favor to the
As a favor to them. That's what he thought he was doing.
Yeah,
I mean, honest, I swear.
Or men trade off.
I think that
Why wasn't he out drinking beer with the guys?
But it's...
that's a little...
We get a lot of harassment from men, and that's
It's
one
not
thing.
just men, because when
Yeah.
I was a 16, 18, I didn't get the respect from women that I get now. Doors are held open for me, even when I go in to write a check at a store. People don't want every piece of ID that I have. When I was a 16, 18, people were more suspicious of me. They weren't as trusting, and now, a pretty face, being thin, I can walk in and people...
Well, hold on to the mic there, Kim. What is it?
It's paranoia.
No, it's not. It's reality.
What does an identification have to do with your weight?
Simple. People judge us by the way we look. We are a package. The first thing they see is what you're wearing, what your weight is, how you fix your hair, and they judge you immediately, and you can't tell me they don't. That's the way this country is. Look for success. What do you think?
I think you're judged on the way you look.
But isn't that sad? That's all I want to
It is reality. You're definitely judged on the way you look. I happen to work at a local health club, and when there is a woman that walks in that looks like Cher, who happens to advertise for the health club that I work for, posters up all over the place, and when one woman comes in, looks close to her, everyone else in the place sneers at her.
Sure.
So the people that look good are being sneered at as well as the people who may not look so good.
Sneered at? That's not
Sneered, suspicion, asked for a couple more IDs, maybe discriminated against. If I'm walking down the street and I see a thin woman, a woman who's thinner than me, or a woman my husband will take a second look at.
Please listen to this woman make her point. We won't be able to...
If I'm walking down the street and I see a woman thinner than me, or who looks better, who is taller, or somebody who my husband will take a second look at, I'm discriminating against her automatically, the same way a heavy-set woman is being
You're
discriminated.
right. We live in a looksist society. We know the word racist, sexist. This is looksism.
And it's
wrong.
And it victimizes women
Anyone
mostly.
who's different.
Huh?
It victimizes anyone who's different.
Over
I'm
here,
not
please.
advocating it. I didn't say it was a good thing. I just said it's reality.
Yeah,
I'd like to know about your exercise routines.
I would too.
I jog 2 miles a day. And I do a lot of walking. I live in Manhattan, and I have 2 children. So I run around a lot after them. And that's about it. You know, I'm pretty busy, so organized things are hard.
This is quite a coincidence for me because I can understand how you feel. I weighed 50 pounds more than I do now when I was in high school. But I've stayed this same weight for 20 years, which has been very difficult, so I know I'm probably in that 5 percentile that you do talk about. But I know there's so much pain associated with being overweight, particularly for adolescents, and it's sometimes something that doesn't leave you ever.
In your head, you mean?
Yeah, I
You
think
could get to be an 8 or a 6 and it's still in your head.
Your body image seems to be formed quite young, and it carries through your life. And it's kind of interesting. I have my 20th high school reunion coming up in a few weeks, and often people don't even recognize who I am. From high school.
I bet you look younger than most of the others.
They all look pretty good, I think.
Well, aren't you nice? Yes.
I think society assumes that if you're overweight, you've got no self-confidence. Also, you've got no self-respect. You know, they make that assumption, I think, but more importantly, they assume you have no self-control.
You're
especially in business.
Yeah.
If you're interviewing for a position in business and you're overweight, they're going to go, all right, this person can't control themselves. Can they control the position?
I don't know if it's that even. I don't know whether the logic actually. Huh?
I think it is, though. I think people assume you're self-indulgent, greedy, out of control around food and about your body. So obviously you're going to be no good to anybody else in a work situation. There's a lot of job discrimination against overweight people. It's been documented. I mean, there's a wonderful organization. We have some members here today called NAFA, the National Association to Aid Fat Americans, and they have endless files on this kind of thing. You're right, and that's why it's important for people like us, for Hara, for myself, to sit here and to try and dispute this with medical facts, with just being two positive, successful big women, and more in the audience.
I was just going to say we were talking earlier about how people view you differently. I've been dating the same guy for the past year and a half, and I don't consider myself overweight, and I've gained maybe 10 pounds in the past year. And, you know, he keeps going to me, God, you're getting so fat. I don't consider a size 10 fat. So people do, but people do consider that. And, you know, you're talking about these people being plus-size models. I don't consider a 12 a plus size. That, to me, is not overweight. But to America, it is.
It's just that, like, when you are looking at your clothes and you're looking in Vogue and you're seeing these women, did you see the mini skirts? What are the legs? They're little toothpicks like this, and that's supposed to be the normal-sized people. That's your role model.
That's another point. We're coming to minis now, and this is going to make life...
So that's your role model, and we're for large people.
I never considered myself overweight, and then I had 3 children, and since I've had my 3 children, I've always found it very difficult to lose weight after the children.
Right.
And I'm with everybody else. I really feel that this society does place so much emphasis on thin is in, size 6, size 4. I go to the store and I see a size 2. I say, who would wear a size 2?
You wear... We've got a 2. Wait a minute. Stand up. Stand up. You have to come out here. Are you kidding me? You're a 2? You are the only 2 in the world. Oh, you're a 2, too? Well, come on up here, 2. I want to see a 2. I'm not sure I've ever seen a 2. Face that way. Well, you obviously picked the wrong show.
I did.
What do you think of when you stand here? There are... Now, a size... Okay, hang on a second. We've got a size 1. There obviously are countless number of women who would kill for your body. How do you feel about it?
I don't know if that's true so much.
I'm not saying everybody. No, wait a minute.
I would agree. I don't think that's true because I did not realize how small I was until I went to college, you know, women's college. And the first time I realized how thin I was when everyone commented on it. I was a cheerleader in high school. I did everything and never thought of myself as being thin, but people look at you and say, my God, do you have a problem? Do you have a health problem? Am I anemic? I mean, it's not the same sort of problem that you might have, but it can be a problem.
I'm sure it can. I'm sure it can be very upsetting. I know a lot of very thin women who can't find clothes, petite women. It's a problem.
It's very embarrassing when you go into a store and you put on a size 4 and it hangs on you. It's too big. And you ask them if they have anything smaller, and they say no.
We're turning green out here. Just a couple questions because, you know, we don't get this chance every day. We've flown these women in at great expense. Wait a minute. Do you eat banana splits and all that stuff?
I pig out.
Do you?
I really
Like,
do.
what do you do? Like, what's dessert?
Well, I'd have to say my pigging out is not the same type of cravings or, you know,
Like-
eating habits that other people would have. But I have my days when I just go crazy.
Right.
But other times I usually am very conscious about what I eat. I eat a lot of yogurt, mineral water. I exercise a lot. I take care of myself. I try to.
How about you? Don't lie.
I go on what I call gain weight diets periodically, and that is trying to eat 2,000 calories a day, trying to gain weight. And a physician once told me if I thought about having children that I should start gaining some weight, that it was going to be a problem for me, and it would be a problem for me just like it would be for someone who is very overweight.
But you like yourselves, right? I mean, you're not...
More so now.
There was pressure when you first went to school.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I have put on only a few pounds since college, and I think a lot of that has been muscle. It's just a matter, I wanted to get bigger. I wanted to look more like a bone, you know, and that's, I wanted to have some shape.
What?
Those are the bodies that they've been dealt by hormones and heredity, and it's wonderful. These are the bodies that they've been dealt by hormones and heredity. We're not saying change anyone, but why not big and little? Not big or little, but big and
Did
little.
you want to talk to the, you know, what? Hang on a sec. What?
I think there's room in the world for everybody, the size 2s, the size 32s. And what I'd like to put,
Yeah, is what?
the things that are really important in this world, the ability to be loved, the ability to love someone else, the ability to make a worthwhile contribution to society is not dependent upon a person's size.
I wish we could translate that aphorism into reality. I do thank you very much. Happy college. Not all the boys are good enough for you, you know. And we'll be back in just a moment.
You got to be what you want to be. If you want to lose weight, there's comprehensive diet programs to help you. That the food is good. I lost weight. I've been on a lot of diets. I've lost weight. I had wonderful food while doing so, and I exercised. It was my choice. If she decides she's made a decision, the size 2s have made a decision, it was my choice. I don't want to put down diets altogether because I think they are healthy, and it's the best way. Diet and exercise is good. So I don't think we should say it's bad. It may not be good for her. It may not be good for the size 2s, but it's good, and it should be. We should put a plus in for that too.
I think something that hasn't been addressed is something that you brought up about heredity and hormones. What about what's being passed on to the children? You better have good self-esteem because your kids are going to have to face those same prejudices because they have the same genes.
Yes, that's true. And in a culture that's sedentary with a lot of fatty foods and, you know, French fries.
Well, so you know what I do for my kids?
What?
I try and save them from the pain I had growing up.
Well, and how do you do that?
And I try and build up their self-esteem by saying, you are who you are and love yourself.
You
And
take them to
don't-
You take them to Central Park for a walk?
I take them to Central
What
Park.
happens when you pass the guy with all the goodies and the sugar and the goo?
I say, well, let's just do something else. I just distract them. That's how you deal with
Is
children.
that really
you
what
don't
you
deny
do?
them, you distract them.
She does. She does.
But is it a fight?
No.
Her kids what?
Her kids are already learning good habits because they're out in the park walking. They're out there exercising. You're getting the good training, and so are your children.
Yes, but
we're
they're
talking
still
about
large children, and my son still has problems sometimes being called fat, and he's not fat, he's big.
Over here, please.
I think that all women that I know, in my experience, all want to lose 10 pounds. Everybody I know is always talking about, I just want to lose 10 pounds. No women I have ever met in my life have ever been
And why
satisfied
do you
with the
think
way
that
that
is?
they look. I think it's something that's given to us,
I think
that
it's
we
an
don't
influence,
look
I think.
right.
I do too. I think makeup says that. Obviously, you are obviously not good enough as you are.
Right, you need
Because
makeup.
you got to do this to your eyes and the blue shadow, you know? I mean, they look like garage doors coming down with this blue shadow. And then incidentally, you can't just put lipstick on. I hope you're not just wearing lipstick. You have to have lip liner. Don't you know that?
I don't have lip liner.
No, I mean, see? Well, and I'll bet you something else too.
What?
Split ends. What do you want to do? I mean, and so you buy pre-rinse, post-rinse, cleanser, deodorant. How did your grandmother get through life without all these sprays? And the cumulative message of this billion-dollar cosmetic industry, I'm almost off, is that you are not good enough as you are.
Exactly. And that's the message of women's magazines to women as well. A recent survey where they checked the 10 biggest selling women's magazines, the topic covered most often was weight and losing weight, and the second was, guess what, aging and wrinkling, how to prevent it. How do you prevent it? We get old.
Phil, you make a good point. Very good. And that is, where are the men? I noticed, like, no one's talking about fat men being a problem. And even though men may be concerned about their weight, it seems as though a man with a big pot belly is not going to receive the same prejudice as a woman with...
It's true. It's true.
What's the matter? Hang on a minute.
I don't think that's true anymore. I think it once was true.
I'll tell you this.
But I think we are in the 80s. And I think that unattractive men are just as unattractive as unattractive women.
I don't think it's just. I don't think it's equal. I think fat men have their problems. I don't think that they knock them dead in the singles bar.
For instance,
It's not as severe, though.
How many large-sized people are on primetime television?
Soap operas.
So,
Men.
there are large men
Men.
versus women.
Right.
A fat man can be a bank manager or a politician. A fat woman is still a joke.
A fat woman is a character actress.
And we'll be back in just a moment. You lost how much?
96 pounds in a year.
No kidding. Back up. Let's see him, Brian. Let's see this gorgeous body here. I used to have a body like this myself. So what's going on now, wise guy? How'd you do this?
I really quit eating was the way I did it. I didn't do it the right way. I was not under any medical diet, anything like that. I ate 3 meals a week. I didn't do it the right way.
Okay, that's all right. We won't listen. You look fine to me. Tell me about your life 100 pounds heavier in there.
There's a prejudice on both sides of the house, and you're wrong. When you're heavy, there is a prejudice against you.
Yes,
when you're
yes,
lighter,
there is.
maybe the size 2, that prejudice still does exist. But you've got to work hard. It takes guts to lose weight. It takes guts to keep it off. And it seems to me that you got to work hard to do it. And if you don't work hard, you don't do it.
Listen, we're going to get a bus for this guy and go on the road. Wait a minute now. Do you drink beer?
Yes.
Light or regular?
Light. Not by choice. I mean, I both sides of the house, I can drink both. Doesn't really matter. By choice, I'll save the 100 calories.
But isn't that the difference, really, for a lot of males, the beer consumption?
I don't think so, no. I really don't. I mean, there's a lot of junk food out there. I mean, it's easy enough to throw a pizza in the microwave.
Oh, I don't know. I can walk by a Bud Light sign and my face gets fatter. Yeah.
That can't be justified. It's just very uncomfortable, because I know I'm overweight.
Oh, you're overweight. Who said, and what Bible are you reading to decide? I mean, and who wrote it, and what did they know? We have people on the stage that say, get off that. You're dancing to somebody else's tune.
You just, when you eat too much, you get fat. That's it.
Oh, but
He said he was uncomfortable,
When
though.
people eat too much,
That's
they get fat.
nobody's
But a lot of
fault but
people are
hers.
fat who do not eat too much, and that's the point.
I lost 50 pounds 2 years ago, and I put it right back on again. And it's all because I ate too much.
Okay,
and
well,
as
you're
soon as
one
I cut down
person.
eating, I could lose the weight.
You're one woman. You're not everyone, and you cannot generalize.
Got wisdom here.
My husband is about 50 pounds overweight, and he's lost it and gained it back again on a lot of different unsound diet plans.
And what's the point?
Okay, his friends are all doing various things to try and make him lose weight, making bets with him all the time and everything. He loses it, he wins the bet, he gains the weight back again. I think it's jeopardizing his friendships at this point. I think they're all feeling...
Because nobody should cajole you into losing it.
No,
It has to be your
when she
decision.
says that when she eats 800 calories, she still doesn't lose any weight.
No, I didn't say just me. I said there's a report
Okay,
about
could
many
it
of these
possibly
people.
be that the people are so overweight that you're maintaining that the weight that you're at?
No,
I mean,
that
if you
doesn't
weigh
make
300
scientific
pounds
sense.
and eat 800 calories, of course you're not going to lose weight.
No.
You don't think that's it?
No, that's not what they've been
All
writing.
right.
That's not what they've
You
been
are with the National Association of Supporters of the Donahue Show. No, I'm kidding. You're with the Good and Plenty Big Beautiful People group.
Right. This is a group that I started with 23 people. We're now 157. Not weight, people.
Right.
I'm just saying that I was on liquid protein. I was a size 13. I lost 75 pounds about 9 years ago, and I gained it all back. When I was thin, I had a great time. I'm heavy, I have a great time. There's a size acceptance problem. It exists, it's there. But I'm an individual. I want to be the way that I want to be, and I'm happy within myself, and that's what counts. The other people have the problem. They really do.
You want this? Yes. Are you with the? You're with the Association National?
I'm with NASA, yes.
The National Association to Date Fat Americans. Yes,
I'm
ma'am.
also president of Largesse, which is a support network for
Yes. All right.
for fat women.
And you wanted to say?
Well, I think that Nancy Roberts is a perfect example of a role model for us all. She proves that it's possible to be successful.
She is a professionally successful woman, to be sure.
And fat at the same time. Now, it's not as easy when you're our size, but it is possible. And I think the key, and this is something that our organizations are trying to promote, is self-esteem and self-acceptance. If you feel good about yourself, you project that to other people.
I couldn't feel good about myself being that large.
Because you're in an industry that values women only by their size.
Yes. I've got to get these people on here. They're getting mad at me.
I have an 11-year-old daughter who thinks she's overweight and will not wear a miniskirt, and she can still wear the same size today that she wore 2 years ago because she hasn't gained
so
anything.
it's in her head, is your point?
Yes, but all this, you know, the TV roles on the books, the magazines. She doesn't want to gain any weight.
That is a cruel thing to inflict on child.
80% of 11-year-old girls in this country are on reducing diet.
Over here, please.
Denise said before, for breakfast, she had a glass of milk, and she said, I hate it. Does that mean
I hated it before I started the diet. I like skim milk. I never tried it before.
Does that mean we
before
have
the
to
diet.
eat the foods we hate, like
what I
carrot
want.
and cottage cheese, and all that sort of stuff?
Before I started dieting, if I was hungry at the end of the day, I grabbed a candy bar. I don't do that anymore. I make what I call a smart choice. I have a piece of fruit.
But you hate the food you eat?
No,
really
I
like
don't. I hate wonderful food on
But
this
you
diet.
know what this man means.
No, I don't. I'm not on that kind of diet. I wasn't on that kind of diet.
I know what you mean.
Enchiladas, pizza, I had it all on my diet.
We understand each other. What the hell else is important? And we'll be back in just a moment.
No.
Oh, this is great. You're now at 12. We'll get that up here in just 1 second. Darby, before... Look at this. You have to look at the camera, Darby, for us to appreciate it. Over here. Now, show them the other one. Do you want to do that, Brian? Don't we have another one? Is it closer, or what is it? The other one of Darby. Oh, well, you'll have to stand. Would you kindly stand?
Oh, that is so awful.
I think it looks good. You look fabulous.
Yes.
Well, you do look fabulous. If I had known I'd look like that, I would never have been that way, I must admit. Just for myself, because I didn't have the self-esteem that I have now.
Mm-hmm.
When I saw that picture, I was mortified. I saw it in the paper, and I went to bed and I cried to my husband. I said, that is so humiliating to me.
What was the how much did you weigh then? Do you probably don't even want to talk about?
I weighed like 187 to 190. I would go up and down 3 pounds.
And now you weigh?
Well, about 150.
And the thing that did it to you most was what? What are you eating? Cabbage and no salad or dressing or what?
Food.
Huh?
Wonderful food. That's what I want to tell the men. I love the food. I love the way.
Hang on a minute. What did you have for this? What did you have this morning?
I didn't eat anything today.
You had no breakfast.
I haven't eaten anything today. But when I do my program, I eat. This is so ironic, and this is what I want to bring up. I have a diet program that is very behavior-oriented, and that's the reason why I've been successful. It's because it worked on my self-esteem, and it worked on why I eat, when I eat, how emotional I am, and also got to the bottom of it. But the food that I eat on this program is so good. It's incredible. So that's why I eat.
The weight, do you ever splurge? Do you realize?
Yeah.
I splurge with clothes now. I buy a lot of clothes, not food.
I've learned how not to splurge.
Do these women ever think that they'll gain the weight back?
I'm going to pray not. Will you say a prayer for me, too?
Can I say something? I don't think they'll gain it back either. I think they will be in the 5% that keep it off because it's their careers and it's important for them.
So many people.
I've lost and gained weight in my life, and I think the only way to do it is to count calories and exercise, and I think it's really sad that there's a lot of things out on the market that try and shortcut the way to do that.
Yes.
I have a friend who's staying with my baby today, and before I left, she said, you know, Barbara, I'd love to go to the Donahue show, but I feel so overweight, I would feel embarrassed to go.
That's heartbreaking.
My daughter told me, please, when you go on the show, ask a question so I can see you.
Yes. Oh, you didn't finish. Do you have any idea where I am if everybody said that? Yes.
But I didn't want to stand out because I'm not the way that I would like to be.
Really?
And see how much pain there is over there?
No speeches.
I like to say this, that the women that lost weight, I think, look great. And I think that most people, you know, to say they're satisfied the way they are, that are fat, and there's so much trouble to lose weight and then gain it again, or just rationalize it off because they have, very hard to, I guess willpower or whatever. They just can't stick with anything, you know. Maybe they don't care that much
decided
about
to get on with their lives. There's a lot more to life than what size you are and to be preoccupied with weight.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say that weight consciousness starts so early in life, because I'm 17, and I see my friends who are these toothpicks that are watching what they eat, and everybody's just so conscious,
It
even
starts
kids.
even earlier. I know I keep spouting these studies, but I've been reading a lot. Found that toddlers in middle-class areas are suffering from malnutrition because their parents feed them diet foods at age 2 and 3.
Over here, please.
For those of you who lost the weight, I'd like to know if you feel better physically, because someone said that
Yes.
Doesn't really mean you have bad health, but...
Absolutely.
You feel better. Yes.
It's a tough issue all the way around. I'm not a small woman, but I have good self-esteem. I feel good about myself, but I would like to lose the weight just for myself, but I've just refused to ever do it a fad way. I mean, my husband weighs 280 pounds, and he looks great because he's a football player, you know. He looks gorgeous. You know, I weigh a lot less than him, but I don't look good, but I've refused. I just want to do it by exercising.
Who says you don't look good?
I feel good, but I'm not the weight I want to be.
But if you want to lose weight, find a program that supports you behaviorally and also with good nutrition.
And what are the forces that are shaping your attitude about what you want to be? I think that's the real important question. What's the culture doing?
I'm a little person, and I wear between a 0 and a 4, and the happiest I was when I was pregnant, because I was able to wear normal clothes. And that's just the opposite problem.
Yes, ma'am.
I think that it's the issue of whether you're mentally and physically healthy. And if you're that, then all the societal things, everyone has prejudices to live against in society.
But I think we should work to stamp them out, not to adapt to them. Yes.
Well, I take offense to the plus-size industry that tells these models that they have to be a size 12 in order to model plus-size fashion.
I agree with you. Well, I'm here now. Thank you. I do a lot of fashion shows around the country on television. I did one once, and I said I want 18s, 20s, and 22s. And neither of the two big agencies...
Breaking all the rules. Nancy Roberts, effort to help you feel good, look great, no matter what size you may be. And look at here. You're nowhere without Vogue, and I wasn't kidding. Here's Fashion Plus. They actually have a section now for, how shall we say, largesse. Is that the word we're looking for? Who had a one-liner before we're out of here? Yes, ma'am. Do I what?
Do you have to take care of your own weight?
Services provided and promotional fees paid by the following.
Today say that they have been in the closet ever since they began to like girls. They didn't know what was wrong with them. They just didn't like the skinny girls. They liked the fat ones. Doug, Conrad, and Dan say that their sexual fantasies are of women weighing between 200 and 300 pounds. And, happily, each of their wives are fat. We're going to start with Doug. Every time I have to use the word fat, I guess it's societal training, but I cannot say that word. I just think that I would no more say to somebody, you're fat, you know, I think it's an insult, and so I'm uncomfortable with it. And you like the word?
I like the word, but that's because I've sort of untrained myself. In our culture, fat is an insult. I think it's an adjective, it's descriptive. It's like having red hair, or it's like having a certain shape of nose. But you throw out one three-letter word and it zaps people. I mean, what comes out when you want to insult somebody? You big...
Right.
Exactly.
When you want to insult somebody, you say, you big...
But how did it get that way? It wasn't that way 100 years ago. Throughout history, fat has been considered actually an advantage. It was a symbol of wealth and of ability to provide for oneself. But here in this particular culture...
It's a pejorative.
Yeah.
You are attracted to women who are fat. Okay, I'm going to learn to say it if it makes everybody else comfortable. What is it that you really like?
It's hard to describe because I'm just not sharing the same brain length with everybody else, but it evokes certain images for me. First, there's the softness. When, well, like when you come up to hug a fat woman, there's a sort of a dynamic there. I mean, her body hugs back. When I hug a thin woman, no insult intended, but it's like hugging a coat rack. You know, there's a softness, there's a sensuality, there's just the contact with flesh. There are also images of, like, power. I mean, they say in the boardroom that the small, skinny women aren't taken seriously, but the heavy ones are there for business, and they are respected. Well, it's similar to that. For a fat admirer, you get these images of, I don't know, I think thin admirers like to have the feeling that they can push the woman around. Whereas the fat admirer is a more benevolent association. It's less coercive, and so you're making friends with, well, it's like being in awe of, say, a battleship or a mountain.
Yeah, but wait.
Well, I'm sorry, that's a pejorative too.
Would you want to go to bed with a battleship?
No way.
I thought, and I don't know, you don't know that I'm going to do this. Nobody knows I'm going to do this, actually. You wrote You're a writer, and you wrote something about 5 years ago that I got a hold of, and I thought that it aptly described a sexual attraction. I delight in the drama, the contradictions, and the tensions as I explore and fondle each fold. My fingers slide into a crevice, feeling the moist, warm pressure of surrounding flesh. I heft the power-laden mass of breast and belly and hip and thigh, and as she shifts, my eyes follow the wave and ripple flowing across her skin. My hands feel the dynamic as fat packs the skin tight here and leaves softness there. Oh, the weight, oh, the weight. How can such softness bear down so heavily, so strongly, like feathers crushing me between her and the earth? Fat feels to me like love. You have always been attracted to fat women?
I have.
Always. Since you were...
I first noticed it when I was about 10 years old.
10 years old. Conrad, let's talk to you.
Okay.
Always, you're from Switzerland, always been attracted to fat women.
Yes, that's true. And I think it goes without saying that the way you get along with a person and, you know, the chemistry and the mutual understanding is, of course, essential in any relationship. I think, you know, nobody argues that. But beyond that, I think everybody has a preference for a certain type. You know, you may be attracted to a tall person or a short person, or you may like blondes or brunettes and so on, and I think a preference for a large person is just a preference like any other preference.
But when you expressed that to your friends when you were growing up and when you were a teenager and everyone was picking out, I like a blonde or I like a girl with a big breast, and you were saying, I just like fat, what did your friends say to you?
Well, I think that men like us are kind of playing it a little bit low-key because obviously thin is in, and you are under a lot of peer pressure to conform, and especially when you're younger, in your teenage years, that can be very difficult. And, you know, you really have to find yourself and say, hey, this is me, and I have my own preference, and I lead my own life the way I want it.
What does a skinny woman do for you when we're talking about sexual attraction? Maybe I'm asking all three of you. What is a skinny woman? Huh?
She could be a good friend.
A skinny woman is a good friend?
Sure. I think a skinny woman can be attractive. She can be beautiful. She can be a good friend. But I think as far as partnership goes, I would not find her attractive.
All right. That leaves you, Dan.
Yeah, I'm probably a little bit different in that respect. I like fat women, and for many of the reasons that Doug stated, I'm attracted to them because of the sensuality. The majesty and the power that he described is not a feeling that I have. That's sort of extraneous to me. I don't really see it as that kind of an issue. I see it as a sensual issue in the sense that the Renaissance painters did. And
now, when you say something like, I see it like Rubens, or I see it like a Renaissance paintings, perhaps we have more of an understanding. Did all three of you think you were odd when you were growing up?
I think that everybody who feels the way we do, at some point in their life at least, think they're the only man in the world that has that preference.
You're the only one, and you're different because obviously most men, like this gentleman, say, no, no, I don't. All right.
It's a lot like having 11 fingers. I mean, it's not something that you tend to be proud of.
You keep it in the closet.
You keep it, yeah.
All right. We have been talking about your wives. We are now going to bring them out. Please meet Diane Zimmer, Ruby Blickenstarker, and Sharon Davis. We'll take a break, and we'll be right back. Women that made these men's dreams and fantasies come true. Diane and Ruby and Sharon. Now, are you going to get crazy? Again, I'm embarrassed. If I give your weight, that's fine. It's okay with you?
Sure.
Okay. being an aggressive talk show host, Diane weighs about 380 and always had trouble meeting men. Ruby, a little over 300 pounds, was on 65 diets and then found a guy who liked her just the way she was. And Sharon, about 230, and was very careful with men. Now, do I understand that you had all had so much trouble with men that when somebody came along and really admired you, okay, you're fat, and this guy says, I really admired you, did you really believe it was true, or did you try to push these men away?
You've asked a double question there. We were told that men didn't like fat women. So when someone did approach us, we thought there was something wrong with him.
You thought there was something wrong with him?
Well, not him, because by that time I had already found out differently.
Okay.
Okay.
So by the time he approached you, it was fine?
Oh, sure.
But when other men approached you, what did you think?
Like I said, we had been told that they had to be weird, so we thought that. Now, in retrospect, we know that they were perfectly normal.
What did you think?
Oh, I was scared spitless.
Really?
I mean, all my life I had been admired or liked for things other than my body or my face or figure or anything like that.
Like what?
Nice
What did
personality.
Nice
if you just lose some weight, you'd have a great personality.
Bright woman.
Yeah.
So jolly.
Yeah.
Jolly.
Oh, yeah.
So neat. Neat and jolly. All right.
And so if you've got a good job and you've got a good other life, the social stuff, you sort of fit in with friends. And you hang on groups, or you go out alone, or you take a bunch of guys and they're with other girls, so you're not paired off. And then it was okay. But if you went out duo, 1 and 2, then you figured there's always an ulterior motive. Even if there isn't, you're assuming there is.
So fat women would tend to push men away even when they shouldn't push men away. Yeah?
Absolutely. Oh, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. My experience is that growing up as a child, it became an issue because my father, who was fat, was married to my mother, who was fat. But he made it an issue all the time. He actually beat her, and that was his excuse for beating her.
Why did he beat her?
Because she was fat. She was fat when he married her. He knew she was fat, but she was supposed to lose weight. She was supposed to become this perfect, his ideal woman. He was going to change her. The fact that he was fat, that was okay, because if a man is fat, he's powerful. But for a woman to be fat, that was a great crime. So I grew up with this. So my idea when I was looking for a man was that I was not going to make the same mistake my mother made. I was relieved when he said he found fat women attractive. So, you know, in my case, I made sure I was careful, because I wasn't going to end up in the same kind of trap my mother did with her first marriage.
Wow, I would assume that would do a number on you. Okay, you're sitting at a bar, sitting with a thin girlfriend.
Or two.
Or two, all right. The men came over to the thin girls, Ruby?
Not always.
When they came over to you, what did you do?
I wondered why they passed up my thin friends and asked me to dance, or if they could buy me a drink or wanted to talk to me. I wondered why.
Did you ask them ever?
No.
Well, you know, I think that Ruby has been a very liberated large woman for a very long time. And I think that shines through. When you look at her, she's so vibrant, and she looks like a great person to get to know. And somehow she always attracted people.
I'd love it. I'd love to hear your...
she had the same problem that many large women have.
Conrad, I want to hear your love story.
Our love story?
Yes.
Our love story started with writing letters. Let me see, I placed a little ad in one of those personals in a magazine, which is for large women, and she answered it, and we started writing.
You were a pen pal?
Yes, we were pen pals for 2 years. We had the most wonderful relationship, and as a matter of fact, we were kind of reluctant to actually see each other in person, because it was so nice to write these letters and to sit there all night and so on. And you know, it took us 2 years to work up the courage to meet each other.
Were you afraid she was not going to be heavy enough?
I had seen pictures of her, and it was just wonderful.
My question is, all the gentlemen are quite slim. How do the ladies feel about fat men?
I would like to comment on that. Okay. once I found out that there were men who were actually attracted to my size, I decided that I was not going to limit myself to any size, because as all women know, fat and thin, there's not all that many men out there. So why limit yourself? Right?
There are women fat admirers. I've told that they go after either the suave, sophisticated Orson Welles, Raymond Burr type, or the powerful Dan Haggerty mountain man type.
But there are women who only prefer fat men.
There are some.
I have two quick questions. When I was 200 pounds, where were you men? Conrad, if for some reason Ruby, God forbid, gets sick or whatever and loses weight, will she still be attractive to you?
Well, I mean, I could ask the question the other way around. If somebody's partner gains a lot of weight, does that affect your feelings for that person?
That's a very good point.
And I don't know. I mean, I would still love her, clearly, but I like her the way she is.
When we return, a fat woman who does not mind flaunting her body. And 20 pounds. She says she's proud of her body and feels very sexy about being fat. Please welcome Ronda Wood. Ronda, catch your breath for a moment. Doug, Dan, Conrad, what do you think?
I think it's terrific. I was always wondering about why most belly dancers don't actually have one.
Oh, is that a turn on, Doug?
As I understand, this is the way it's done in Morocco and Ethiopia.
Yes, you're
yes,
correct.
It definitely is for me. I would say that one of the most erotic things that I find about fat is jiggle. I mean, I've gotten in trouble for using the wrong term before, and I have to translate this. It tells me that, okay, our society's into control. You have to be in control of your body, in control of your emotions. Nothing shows, there are no seams. And what this fat tells me is that this is a person who has allowed herself a little freedom. The fat doesn't behave. It's disrespectful, it's impudent, and that excites
Let's
me.
go to the jiggle.
Yeah.
What you're turned on by physically is jiggling flesh.
Yes, it's a sensual thing. It's visual, tactile.
If I'm sitting in the room with my husband, for example, and a CoverGirl model walks in, you know, many women can feel insecure or jealous, and the eyes of the men start to wander. Now, did any of you experience that when the belly dancer came in?
Well, she was facing the other way.
Personally, I don't care for heavy people. I used to be really big. And when this lady, God bless her, came out here in that outfit, I just said, my God, how repulsive. But yes, you're right. It's brainwashed.
That's right.
But I could never get into that sexually. Forget it.
If Ronda's so proud of her body, how come as soon as she sat down, she covered it all up?
I'd like to answer that. When she stood up, her body was uncovered and she was dancing. You're sitting there, your body's covered up, okay? She's sitting here, she's no longer dancing, so she covers her body up. It has nothing to do with her pride in her
Question.
Hi. Personally, it grosses me out.
okay? But that's fine, that's not me, you know, that's, you're happy, that's all that counts.
I'd like to know why.
What I would like to know is about your sex life. I mean, who's on top, how don't you get crushed
You
to
tell us
death,
about
you
yours.
know.
I will tell you about ours.
Wait a minute. She is asking questions that an awful lot of people are wondering about. So let's give her a little respect in asking these questions. The first one was...
Like, who's on top?
It depends.
Depends on which day it is.
Wait. Conrad?
Yeah, I just, the statement you made that it grosses you out. You see, one thing, it's not what you were asking afterwards, but one thing which is really wrong in this society, that you can say that to a fat person. But if I were here and I said, well, you're black, that really grosses me out. That's completely unacceptable.
We'd lynch the stage.
Yes, we don't do that.
She resented it because he said he didn't like coat hangers or something. It's perfectly okay for her to say that fat people gross you out. But God forbid that we should say that you gross us out. It's just not fair. You don't gross me out.
You call this coat racks, though, but that's acceptable?
I didn't say that.
Well, somebody up there
I
did.
said like, okay? I was, you guys didn't like Battleship, and you don't like coat hanger. I can't use any descriptive adjectives.
I would like to say that I really...
Rhonda, you were going to answer the sexual question. She said she had some. If you want to be honest enough to answer them, let's go.
I just want to say that I think her question comes from one of the many myths that there are about fat people, that fat women are asexual and that men are not attracted to fat women, both of which are patently untrue and a part of the mythology that goes along. That's one of the reasons why you feel uncomfortable saying fat, is because it's like calling somebody a whole range of other things besides just the descriptive word. But the truth is that fat women are just as sexual as anybody else, feel just as sensuous when they're allowed to. Many of the questions here I've seen are about body image. I've seen very average-sized women stand up and say, well, I feel fat, look at you. But the thing is, all women are unhappy with their body image. That can be changed here and here. You can feel better about yourself at any size, and you can have sex at any size, trust me.
We'll take a break. We'll be right back. Prejudice against people who are overweight. And a lot of the things that they've said, if we said that about any minority, most of us be shocked and rush onto the stage. And I think that the more we communicate about these things, the better it is going to be. And I'm very, very grateful to all of you for coming and talking to us. And those of us that can learn from it, well, then we will. Thank you very much. I love your dancing.
Thank you.
Some members of our audience will receive, and a promotional fee has been provided by